It's a Linwu fortress. Looks like the decider for Linwu Fortress was WLBG. We love big gates. Toss up between the larger maps, dude. I do think it will be an interesting match, nonetheless. I can say though, however, I do like visiting Linwu Fortress as a unique map. Rather disappointed though because of the limitations of units. They lack expression or the ability to express advanced strategies rather than just beating your enemy down into oblivion. So there's a lot of that happening lately that is really killing some enjoyment for me, and I'm pretty sure it would be better if we could get more more holding units that can actually stop and or like getting units to be able to be in a formation and hold against charging units is in particular very necessary. Not necessary is for them to actually deal damage back, but rather it's necessary for them to hold other units back. So they really need to be able to stop units from phasing through them is one. Gotta really stop getting thrown around is another part. I mean, like CC immunity definitely would be overkill, but I do think being able to block most attacks, if not all attacks, is probably a big thing. Even if it does come at a cost for them, be it like in my eyes, I feel like the best tier 5 shield unit. If you want to ever make a tier 5 shield unit, it should have 0 offensive capabilities. It should basically be unkillable, and it should be also immovable. It should be virtually impossible to get through a tier 5 shield unit. For me, that is. So, not only does a tier 5 shield unit just stand in formation, no unit phases through them. Everything, hard stop. That's what I feel like would be excellent. I think a lot of units should be like that, especially a lot of shield units should be like that, but you don't get that. There's very few things, especially in the infantry, that can kind of do that phasing thing, and like, again, there's a lot of things that are just cavalry exclusive that makes this an issue. But I want that feeling again. I want that feeling of units against each other, feels the mass against mass, but make it more spread out. I don't want to see a bunch of monks spinning. I don't want to see like 10 different monk squads all spinning on the same spot. And that's what's really sad about monks as well, is they don't stack naturally, but they are able to stack. Kind of like how claymores can stack, but claymores only stack if you activate For Freedom by itself. If you press anything, they'll go back to their normal attack mode, which makes them spread out. Wow, I think I'm a bit bloated, so I drank a lot. So, we have a 10v10. It did hit the 9 o'clock mark. We should have the first battle starting up very shortly. I do like a lot of the... how to say? I do like a lot of the directions for the units, because sometimes they come in directions which are unexpected, but I also think that they could have taken more historical more historical approaches to some of these units, because the Yanyudao cavalry, although I've not really heard of glaive type cavalry in China, most of the time, it's normally singular heroes, or I mean like singular figures or great warriors. But that's similar to most cultures and stuff, I think. Glaives are not particularly easy weapons to wield. I mean, like, especially Chinese variant, where they're very heavy, and even the Madao, their weapon as well is it's a type of glaive, and that weighs heavier than some of the pole axes from Europe in the late medieval age. What I don't like is some of the typecasting that is also introduced. Um, in my mind, in my mind, because all of these guys have beards, I just imagine all of these, I just imagine all of the Yan Yudaos, are actually just Guan Yu knockoffs. They're not as buff as Guan Yu, but apparently their beard is just as majestic. And obviously you got the fantasy monk style, like these ginormous beads. And they wouldn't be this big. Honestly, they would not be this big. And open shirt, of course. Their shovel wouldn't be this big either, but I kind of like the look if it was just a single person doing it. But that's the thing. It's not a military unit. It's like the Crescent Monk and the Yanyudao both look like they're not a unit, but they're like a singular person. Like it would be so much better if they were just a hero. And I mean like their abilities work like their heroes basically as well. So you get that feeling. Well, we're just waiting for some reason. I'm not sure what's holding us up. Because at least the Kaju monks looks very generic. Well, I mean, like I have an attire on them, but they look very generic. They're not extraordinarily flamboyant, or I mean, they're not so outrageous that like you can't see just a whole bunch of them. But the Crescent Monk and the Yanudao Cavalry, I feel like they're like one-offs, like something that you wouldn't see a lot of. They feel less of a military form and more of a fantasy military. Well, I mean, like you can have cool looking fantasy units. Take the Winged Hussar for example. They look amazing, look great, and they're a military unit. We need more of that. Anyway, we have Linwy Fortress. We love big gates versus BODS. Surprisingly, using still a lot of tier 3s. The Vol, the Zycalian Militia coming in 3 times over, plus 2 Siphonatis. And we got lots of Halberdiers coming in. Of course, both sides using a little bit of monks, BODS using a bit more. More tier 4s coming out from BODS, so BODS should have the advantage in units. We got a couple of shield maidens. Let's see how well they're going to work out. I do think a couple of nicely placed CC and Flame are going to really hamper WLBG's attack onto BODS, but it is still very common to see the team with the team with stronger infantry to just blow out the defense rather than attrition to win in this match. Wow, what is happening to my thing? So we got a split approach here. We got 4 guys going down underneath. Gonna probably do a climb in the center. We've seen it before, and I wouldn't be surprised if BODS just sticks to the walls here. One of the bigger parts, or one of the main parts to always focus on when attacking Linway Fortress is opening up your options. Realistically, you have to attack from the inside and the outside simultaneously. You just started, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You haven't missed a thing. A lot of the battles were cancelled tonight, and we lost the first hour, so there was no battles for the first hour. I haven't got clarification on which one, on what. I haven't gotten a clarification on who or what happened with the other battles, but it does look like probably some forfeits happened. I'm really surprised that our longbow from BODS is out here. Gotta be careful as well. Some headshots onto those range units could see people disappear very quickly. Though you're aiming at the wrong thing. I think it's just getting in the way. This is an approach I haven't seen before. Destroying the Trebs. Destroying the Trebs is not a bad strategy, I would think. This map is very small. Trebs are fairly powerful. And obviously you can see that longbow is making a little bit of work. Coming in from behind. Oh! War Rocket comes blazing through though. Destroys it really quickly. I do think a little bit of attrition is going to happen for WLBG. The Treb not going to be very... Ooh, the Treb does come in for them. Nice. Although there's only 2 Trebs left, I do think BODS will have enough time to destroy them. Otherwise, we're going to be seeing a couple of losses of Fortrashers. Would open the front gate, in fact. Make sure you get all the avenues through. Or maybe the front gate will remain shut. BODS is coming up through the rear here. Going to try to catch a couple of nasties. I do think WLBG is kind of letting their rear be left unguarded as the Fortrashio makes a slow approach. Gets hard stopped by ISG and Halberdiers. Halberdiers doing an amazing job right now. Looks like it will be a very easy squeeze. Crushing the WLBG's attack into oblivion there. Which is not really good for WLBG since they will end up with less units. They have less units, so they have to fight. They have to fight at least 3 times. They probably only have enough resources for 3 engagements. And I'll put it honestly that WLBG does not have the luxury to lose. They'll need to basically win 2 fights, the equivalent of 2 fights with the next 2 battles. Next 2 battles have to be basically guaranteed. Because if the next 2 battles are not guaranteed, they have no hope of defeating all 4 armies, or all 4 spawns from BODS. What's surprising here is WLBG's usage of artillery is very low, very, very low right now. We haven't seen a single artillery come out from WLBG, but almost half the artillery coming out from BODS. So BODS is definitely making use of those artilleries, getting some good value out of them, chipping away at some high value targets or just targets in general. But the clock is ticking. Finally, first artillery coming out from WLBG, and chooses for a war rocket, surprisingly. Out of all the things, a war rocket is an interesting choice in the location that they've chosen.
My axe can't handle.
But killing some high value, killing some targets here. That one volley killed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically 6 models, and a couple more just died. Man, almost 9 models from that ISG was killed. Big hit onto onto the memory lonas. I'm not sure if they're gonna die. They actually sport quite a bit higher health than even the ISG counterpart. ISG have pretty high health, but nothing to scoff at when we're talking about the Murmielonas, which has 21,800, I think. Not 21,800. 12,800. I do think the ISG sport something like 11,800. Surprising, since that's about the same amount of health as Fortebrushers. Oh. Big hit on the center. Does look like a hit into the burn damage did end up killing. What would have been surprising is that I think the burn damage might have killed two of the Cyphernatis, and they exploded, which causes the issue. But nevertheless, taking a bit of losses every volley, so they definitely got that war rocket zoned in. Or zeroed in, how to say, artillery. WLBG is running out of time, so they will have to make a move eventually. Taking a big hit here. We're about to get some monks. Surprisingly getting stun locked, actually. I didn't think that the monks would get stun locked in this case. Normally they do have a habit of either getting stun locked or blasting right through the enemy. Now, this will be an awkward start, mainly because they're going to have to deal with the monks. Very strange charge here, but one flamer, in fact, still there. Did take out the Rev, so there's only one left. Taking care of that back line by the looks of it, but whoa, flaming Divine Crow coming through. Definitely could see a unit victory, but the push is going to be very weak moving forward. Low potential in damage. Both ISG and Murmielonas are both just fighting it out. Looks to be the monks actually just rinsing right through that front line, and as you can see, they are nothing. There's nothing left out from WLBG. Second loss in a row, and that is pretty much done deal, I would say. Even if BODS threw units at them and they traded 1-to-1, the difference in units is too insurmountable. Even if they did let them get a mostly artillery difference here, getting some nice artilleries across from across from the map, hitting hard, and definitely got a slightly better matchup. The monks are definitely coming in handy against this heavy infantry lineup. Again, monks are something that is surprisingly outpacing a lot more than you would expect for other units. A Murmielona's charge straight into an ISG is not actually very effective, since the damage gets reduced by more than 60%. It wouldn't be enough to kill, even if you do hit max limit. We'll one-shot the Murmielona's opposite, though. A little bit buggy as we get burned up here by the... Wow, the Daggerrack Lancer is getting stopped wholesale, almost instantly killed, but fortunately, it does allow their infantry to kind of get in a little bit further. nevertheless, it's really the monks that is really causing the most issue for the front line.
Together we
Can't really
stand.
deal with the monks, as the monks are basically
Ashes
as
to
tanky
ashes, dust
and
to
does
dust.
quadruple, or if not
Together we
6 times more
stand.
damage than they do.
速水乘风，正
Be that
怪
as it
中
may,
国。
the ball throwers still made up for the bulk of the CC, really definitely burning up quite a bit. Since the piles were so huge, I do think you would have probably seen a lot of damage spread out across the entirety of WLBG. And that's a wrap. First battle is a complete stomp. I don't think we'll see anything different from the next one. I do think BODS will probably take this Linwu Fortress very easily in their attack. Trebs did actually come in handy for WLBG, just not the usage of their own artillery. Very few artillery were used out from WLBG, but plenty of artillery was used from BODS. Coming back down to it, honestly as well, the usage of the Zycalian militia, maybe not so much for the Siphonatties, but the Bolt Boys definitely made it difficult for WLBG to really get a Death Ball going. And it's units like those that really hamper progression. There's not very many units that can deal with the monks, and there's not very many units that can deal with shields at range. So I do think that as much as people say that shield units should basically be impervious to range, I do believe that not only should there be options to take out shields from a distance, there should also be options to survive against those range. But sometimes you just can't have everything you want. Though I must say, the close quarter nature of a Linwy Fortress and a lot of these battles lately, the unit selections is quite limited in success, and it's very fascinating to watch teams use certain units only for those units to only not really work. So I'm quite skeptical on unit selections wholesale. I think Murmilones is a kind of a weird choice. Not very many good charges out for many of them. I do think you'd probably be better off. You'll probably be better off not choosing Murmilones at all. Monks is still a pretty good choice to counter most of the shield units, but you do get stun locked by the Fortibratio, so that does happen. And occasionally, I mean, BODS's choice for using the Halberdiers is always very fascinating. Especially in scenarios where they're just facing infantry, those guys could be very strong. And I do suspect that that's why they chose them, because they're not very... they do very well against shields, and they'll do very well against most other things. Their damage is nothing to scoff at. The Phalanx formation is probably one of the deadliest formations in this game. And I'll be honest with you as well, they do more damage than even Medals do in their brace. Be that as it may, I do think both a lot of pike units should really get a buff to their brace damage. Nearly every pike unit should get an increase to their brace damage by at least 100% in order to compete with the halberdiers. Although we won't count the Fortibratios because of their longer reach, so they do have that advantage. But I do think a lot of the pike units that can brace should get about 100% increase in damage. And most everyone can agree that their brace damage and their normal attack damage should be quite similar. So I do agree that... so with that train of thought, I think along with the brace damage increase, I think their normal attack increase should also be... their normal attack should also be increased. And for what it may be, I do think their normal attack damage should actually be higher than their brace damage. For the most parts, I think the brace damage is probably too high now. Brace damage should only be dealing lots of damage to units that charge in to a brace formation rather than for brace formation to deal the most damage in general. I still think that pike units should use their normal attacks more in order to deal the bulk of the damage. But that is the difference of thinking as well. I do want to go back to the days where bracing didn't deal normal damage, so they didn't used to have a normal attack when they're in brace. That was a change that was done pre-season, so it's actually not. So I actually have no experience for the time where brace only did brace. Nevertheless, we're on to the second battle on Lin Wu Fortress. Similar setup for as before. BODS does look like they love going with the triple tier 4s with that tier 3. Lots of halberdiers still. We got a lot of ball throwers along with the Siphonates. This time we get to see a Shenji. Of course, we didn't get to see the Prefecture Archers deploy just yet, but those Prefecture Archers could be very nasty, especially with no especially when there's less shields on the field. But then again, WLBG loves their shield. We have plenty of Mirialones and ISGs. We got quite a few Shield Maidens. Not that the Shield Maidens really made a difference. I do think that the monks in general will blow out the Shield Maidens en masse. But if you can get some Shield Maidens in isolated cases, you can probably squeeze out or shut down the monks before they really get going. But this might be the last battle of the scoring phase, so hope it is a good one. Never like it when it's a complete stomp, but it's unfortunate if it does happen. I always do like to see two equally skilled teams fight it out to see who is superior, and if it comes down to the wire, it's always great. But skill expression wise, we have WLBG really lacking in usage of artillery. Let's see if they can keep up with BODS when they are on the defense and let's hope that WLBG can keep up with the artillery usage against BODS. Not looking to destroy this I kind of want to see what's over here, but I can't speed run over here. But it is extra trebs, random ballistas for some reason. Get to see other stuff underneath the map. Anyway, back to the battle. Inside right now, we already have BODS kind of on the wall here, making a mess of things. Shield Maidens easily isolates two of those monks, squishing, killing them almost instantly, and as they go on, really great at killing the monks one-on-one. Going to probably lose the supply point here as they're kind of getting distracted by those guys. We got some Daniel Dow's on the ground. Unfortunately, nothing to hit now as... Whoa! What's this in the front gate? Ooh! Could see... Grab a couple guys there, but it does not look like it was going to be successful. Gotta be careful, because we've got some axe throwers here. I'm not sure where you're going. Does catch a little bit of the Mirialones. Shield Maidens go to the front, getting a bit distracted, but instantly deleted there by the Mirialones. Mirialones are pretty good against Shield Maidens, instantly squishing them. But the battle does not look to be favorable for WLBG. Taking out some high-value targets in the back here, or tries to. Does look like the majority of these two units still stay alive. In fact, that entire ball throw is still alive. Only 4 of the Siphonates died. Monks did take out a Fortebraccio. Doesn't look like they were very successful in the defense at all, as the Yanudao is probably the only thing that is gaining anything on the ground here. we could see some more usage of the Yan Yudaos. I think it would have been probably wise for WLBG to forego an infantry defense and just go full cavalry. At this present time, the Yan Yudao is probably the only thing that's really gotten any value out of anyone. Tries to get that last cavalry. He did use the rushing blow to get them out, get instant acceleration out of rushing blow. But giving up the supply points close by, probably not the wisest of moves. I do think BODS is moving on to the left-hand side, looking probably to heal up, respawn. They might be a bit wary of the cavalry, but the cavalry is half dead, so we got that. So BODS probably doesn't have that much to worry about. Not to say that they don't have Fortebraccios, so they are prepared. Or, I mean, actually, maybe they don't have Fortebraccios. Oh, they have one Fortebraccio. They have a couple of Fortebraccios. Yeah, they have Fortebraccios. What am I smoking? Fortebraccios are quite strong en masse, but in isolation, they're not very strong. They're great for effectiveness against cavalry, mediocre against infantry, but when you just have a ton of them, trying to get through the Fortebraccio is equally or gets exponentially more difficult. Since Fortebraccio could basically hit you from 3 units away. I say 3 units away. It's probably the equivalent of 4 meters. Alright, well, 3 meters technically. Not exactly sure how long a pike is or how tall the person is. If we think that a regular person is about 2 meters tall, maybe the monks would be 2 meters tall. Now, gonna get bombarded by some high fire artillery here. Interesting shot into... Wow. Okay, that is in through the door. Does hit. Interesting spots for some of these shots coming through. Did take out the wall rocket facing weird angles since no one's really there. Oh, Observer accidentally DC'd, so that's not very unfortunate. Observer is supposed to be here to confirm the results, so it might be a redone, but for better or worse, I do think they'll probably rely on the streamers to confirm the results. That's mostly what's going to happen. I do think there's enough streamers to confirm whether or not BODS or WLBG has done something illegal. Not sure exactly about ground rules for illegal conduct. But WLBG does take out an artillery, especially a mortar. Whoa! That's very funny, but nice shot. Nice shot, man. So, I don't know exactly how he pulled that off, but he kind of shot the... chain dart as he rolled away, but accidentally fell as well. So it looked a bit weird. So off to a bad start right now. It's right onto the first Fortebraccio. Imperial Spear Guard making its way. We got a lot of flames coming through this right-hand side, about to break. Monks do get all the way through. Lots of shield units will hold for quite a bit, but not infinite. Probably hold for about 10 seconds. Monks are churning through. Best not to walk into the monks. Always wait for them to come to you, minimize the damage, or just walk away. Obviously, the Axe Raiders just kind of pulverize through, but gets completely destroyed. I'm pretty sure the Fortebraccios didn't actually do that much work, but surprisingly, the Axe Raiders do get onto the Shenji and manage to kill most of them. So only just the Imperial Spear Guard left as they burns down to the Flamers. A massive respawn from both teams. We do have a Memory Luna is still here with Flamers. Let's see how long they can defend. Secondary charge incoming. About to delete. Whoa! Hey, what happened there? I thought the Shield Maiden was about to get deleted, but for some reason the Shield Maiden said no. As I said that, it literally just gets deleted as it walks straight into the monks. Lots of Fortibrachers holding this pile, and I did not see the Daggeric Lancers coming in from the rear here. So trying to get to the point, Short Sword actually makes it, but he will die under suppression from so many. BODS does look to want to just throw units at them, but surprisingly Shield Maiden's come up behind, going to kill off a... oh, never mind. Surprisingly, the heroes deal with that fairly easily. Got a couple of more Shield Maidens coming up from the rear. Managed to make it onto the ground. Whoa! Point blank. Shield Maidens gets shot. But of course, the stun on brace from the Fortibrachio is incredibly strong as... what was that? I've never seen that. What was that effect on the Fortibrachio just now? Huh. I'm not exactly sure what that effect was on the Fortibrachio just now, but let's hope it was nothing. Let's hope the observer seen everything. But nevertheless, again, it's to be expected. I do think BODS winning is quite guaranteed. There's no real challenge for BODS against WLBGs, considering from the performance from the first one. Lack of artillery usage from WLBG is probably the primary reason, but it's also just to do with effectiveness. I think they lost a lot of their artillery in the second half. They didn't really use very much in the first half, but BODS really just hammered out the defenses for WLBG, so they got a lot of holes to fix, but also just unit matchups just really bad. Monks, shields into monks is always a bad idea. The Fortibrachos for both sides are quite mediocre. I do think a little bit better from BODS, not really using it for offensive capabilities, but using it for defensive capabilities, really is the pride and joy, or the main playstyle that people with pike units should be going for. You never really want to try to push with your pikes. If you have to push with your pikes, there is something seriously wrong with your unit composition, or it's literally the only thing you can do, because it is way more effective to wait for the enemy to walk into you than it is to walk into the enemy, especially in a pike versus pike war. The first person, once you try to walk in towards pikes each other, first person to hit is normally the one that's ready. But regardless of that, I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a short stream, but nevertheless, that is the end of the scoring phase. So we're going to take a quick look at the points. I'll get to tell you the top 4 for each of the groups. We'll see in a second once they confirmed the battles. But I think it should be quite obvious. Alright, so we do get some confirmations though. For clarification, the Saw versus... well, I mean, like, it doesn't really matter what the battles... who won what battle, but it does tell you here what happened in the end. There's a lot of forfeits that did happen. But let's go into rankings, see what the current situation is, see if WLBG would have had effect if they did win for BODS, which, highly unlikely. Nevertheless, in the scoring phase, we have Group A. Top 4 is BODS with a score of 15. 10 games won, 100% win. That will probably be changed to a 100% win with 12 games won. SVS scoring a 14 score with 10 games won and a 77% win rate. That means they probably lost 2 games. Or a couple of games, really. Probably 4, actually. Coming in third, we have WLBG getting 9 points with 6 games won and 55% win rate. But probably be lowered below 50%, and the score might go to 8, which would tie them up with the 4th place BLK, which is also tied with MJ, both scoring 8, having 6 games won and a 46% win rate. So if it is top 4, there should be a tiebreaker between um, BLK and MJ. It is a single match. It's a single match. So it's a best of 3 to decide who gets to go forward. If that does happen, that is. I'm not sure how many people. I'm not sure who will get to go through, but if there is a need for a tiebreaker, it'll be a single match. It'll be a single match. It'll be a single match endeavor. For scoring phase Group B, we have first place being CBL with a score of 17 points, 12 games won with 92% win rate. So they probably lost one of their battles. Probably sending it down to a field battle. Probably could track which one that one was. We have second place for Group B being DVD with 14.5, having 11 games won with 73% win rate, probably from CBL. Again, if you lose in a 2-0 scenario, you get a -1 point. But if you lose in a 2-1 scenario, you get half a point. You get negative half a point. Third place is HNB for Group B, getting 11.5 points. A games won being 9, 69% win rate. And then finally, fourth place being Eon, 8.5 points with 7 games won and a 50% win rate. Oh yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi, a lot of teams got banned. Mostly from Group D, which was very surprising. Oh, not mostly from Group D, but like, yeah, nearly one person from every group got banned. Someone said earlier that like 6 teams got banned, so there's that. Group C. Now, this is where ECL is, so you think ECL is gonna win this? I don't think so. I don't think ECL has what it takes, comparatively, from what I've seen, to take this. I do think I'm overrating BODS a little bit too much, but they do seem to have they did seem to have a little bit of an easier groupage. So all in all, I do think between BODS, CBL, ECL will probably be top 4 at the very least. Whether or not they do make it to top 4 will determine how will mostly be determined by how the knockout phase actually lays out. Regardless, ECL score of 17 points, 12 games won, 100% win rate. So they got 2-0 for all of their matches, which would have been 6 matches in total. For second place, we have CCT with a score of 14 points, 10 games won, and a 77% win rate. Followed by third place, VNH, score of 11 games won, 8, and a 67% win rate. And GW filling out for fourth place with GW with 8.5% win rate. With 8.5 score with a 7 game and 54% win rate. Finally, for the last group, very surprising how little battling happened in this group, but nevertheless, we have a first place being DZ, a score of 19 points, 14 games won, 93% win rate. So DC probably had the most battles out of any team, making them having to have 7. They had 7 different matches in this groupage. Following DZ, we have CE 14.5 score with a games 1 of 11, with game percentage being 85%, followed by um, third place, which is QAT with a score of 4, 0 games 1, very unfortunate, and game percentage of 0, of course. Then we have a quintuple draw for 4th place with Ahoy, BMP, DOC, TQT, and BMO. I do think a couple of these guys might have been disqualified, but all of these guys scored 3 points and won 0 games with a 0 percentage. BODS should be updated shortly. They'll have a score of 17, and of course, WLBG will probably be put down to 8. If it does go to 7, that means BLK and MJ will be moved to tied 3rd place. But other than that, BODS doesn't move. They're still 1st place. But WLBG, depending on how many people get dragged up into the main phase or the knockout phase, they could be out completely in this case. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. That is all for the scoring phase, and that is all for tonight. Hopefully we get an announcement to see what the knockout phase is going to be like. They'll probably have a draw for the Wednesday, probably starting on the probably starting a draw on the Friday, starting the first match on the Sunday, but we'll see how this works out. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. But other than that, my name's Azakai. Have a nice day. Bye for now.